Right, welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all well. We've got some further development on the rumoured Ben Affleck HBO Max series. What I've had come to me from some sources is a little bit counter to what we're going to run through in this, and I want to kind of discuss how I think a lot of it's kind of Chinese whispers, basically, because what I've heard from my sources are like a little bit different, but they're all singing from similar hymn sheets. So there's definitely something in this, but we'll read this, then I'll tell you what I've heard, and we'll go from there. Before we do, I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you. See this right here? This is the poster to my film. We hit the second stretch target yesterday on the GoFundMe, which is linked down below in the description box, and I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you so much. It is incredibly humbling. I was close to tears. It's one of those things that you just think it's very humbling. So thank you so much. It's still open. We're kind of going further and further, and if you want to donate, then you can. It's linked down below. But let's dive into this, okay? Now, in terms of what this is, there was a report a little while ago that Ben Affleck was being courted to return for a Batman HBO series. Like, I did a report on it, and it was surprising because like he's not really doing much else, right? He's not really doing these kind of things here and there, but obviously it seemed to stem from the fact that Zack Snyder was obviously doing the Justice League, the Zack Snyder cut, right? And it seems to make sense. Now, when I released that video, I then learned out a little bit more, and I've been sitting on it for a little while. And then we got this. What was this yesterday? This yesterday, which has kind of contradicted what I've heard. But the reason why I wanted to talk about it now and also talk about what I've heard is because I do think there's something here. I do think there's something actually happening. So this is a rumor from the culture nerd, okay? And again, it indicates a lot of what I've heard, but not to the same degree. So they're basically saying that there is a planned HBO Batman project. And that's not what I've heard. I've heard that everyone that was in Justice League have been asked to come back for a DC sort of project, but they were all going to be cameos. But it's interesting that we're still learning that Jared Leto and Joe Manganiello, bloody say that quickly, they're apparently going to be part of this package of this Batman series. So I think that they've been discussing it, but nothing's locked in, and they're trying to work out how how to kind of handle it and put it all together. So what I heard specifically before we dive into this, right, is that basically the HBO Max show is set in Snyder's universe. That's apparently what it is. It's there. It's in the universe, but it's not necessarily, telling a linear tracked DC story. Okay, it's a separate story to what we've already had, to what we already know, and how things were going. Apparently, all of the Justice League players, everyone, again, I mean, these are them, right? And Gal Gadot and things like that. They're just going to be cameos, which would make sense because these are A-list actors. Like, what? How are they going to have time to do this, right? I mean, yeah, it probably pays a lot of money, but they still have bigger roles to fill elsewhere. So that's apparently, again, from my sources anyway, and they'd just be background characters, so they'd just be references. So a lot of these discussions could be over the rights to use their likeness. And apparently, the studio itself, so HBO and I guess AT&T as a whole, have literally approached everyone. Jared Leto, Gal Gadot, everyone, about reprising their roles on top of what they needed to do for Zack Snyder's Justice League pickups and shoots. Now, in terms of what the content of the show is, there's no word on it. It's not an actual, apparently, according to my sources, it's not an actual Batman project. Apparently, it's not a traditional superhero show. So I think they've probably been trying to get him back for Batman, and he's saying he's not going to do it, and then they're trying to evolve it into something else, because they're saying, maybe all the A-list actors are saying, well, we're happy to do this, and we're happy to do that, but we can't dedicate that much time to it. So they're working with what they've got, and it's a developing project in discussion phases. That's at a guess anyway. Now, The other side of it is about Affleck returning as Batman. It's not a lock. He will absolutely come back for Justice League pickups, but that's apparently just as a favour to Zack Snyder. Which would make sense, because he was really burned. He was really burned with that Batman role. And that's what I'm fairly certain I said that when we did this initial report, saying that it didn't really make a lot of sense that he'd come back, because he was pissed. You know, he was not happy. I mean, he was literally pissed. He was in rehab. So yeah, nothing's finalised. Nothing is greenlit at all. And allegedly, what we'll hear, we'll start to hear actually late this year or next year, until we start to hear a little bit more about definitive decisions taking place. So yeah, that's it really. There's not an awful lot there. Ben Affleck coming back as Batman for a Batman series, incredibly unlikely. And this is from my sources. I can't confirm it. Very difficult to confirm. But in terms of everyone else that is saying these other things, I can see how it's probably a developing project along the line. Yeah, I mean that's it really. What else is there to kind of? Yeah, I think it's just a developing thing. So this report anyway, and this is what dives into the other stuff, right? Is that Warner Brothers is apparently committed to Matt Reeves' The Batman trilogy. I don't think that's ever been confirmed that he was doing a trilogy, so that's new. And obviously goes a step further and says that's been the plan up to now, but as nothing is stopping them, they wish also to pursue a mini-series or a DC film on HBO Max. Now that does contradict what I know and what I've heard, but I think this is just a working project. I think that they've approached everyone and they've said, right, well, what are you willing to do? Okay, cool. Well, let's go from there. Now they go further and say that Affleck's project will likely follow the intended storyline teased by the post-credit scene of Justice League or Zack Snyder's Justice League. Now, this is where it gives credence to what I've said, because if it's a series and it's just going to be following Joe Manganiello, creating their own kind of league, having everyone else as a cameo, Deathstroke kind of working in there, that could make sense. I can see how that's probably, because a lot of this stuff is Chinese whispers. People hear stuff, people hear more things. Internally, they start to talk about stuff. I would say that that's potential. I think that that's likely. I think this goes into what I had said, but, who knows? Now, obviously, that the end of Justice League saw Lex Luthor recruit Deathstroke, Slade Wilson, and basically saying, we're going to go and do this, create our own league and all that kind of stuff. But Ben Affleck coming back as Batman, I can't see it. I really can't see it. I would be more inclined to believe what my sources have said to me, that it's just a working project, basically, and people would just come and go as cameos. I think that makes a lot more sense for these big A-list actors, because they are. Undoubtedly now, they are big A-list actors. It'd be difficult to lock them in to do an actual series, proper series. So there you go, that's what I've learned anyway. And this is the update from apparently Cultured Nerd. Is it the Cultured Nerd or the Cultured Nerd? Don't even know who it was properly. That's apparently from them. So yeah, allegedly most of the old pieces look to be back in play according to this rumor. If Affleck is back in the cow, then getting Leto and Manganiello to reprise the roles of Joker and Deathstroke respectively would be key. Whatever. I don't think this is. I don't think it's a Batman series. I can't see it happening. I think Chapo, Ben Affleck, has been burned way too much to sign up to a whole series. He won't stay in shape for that long. And I know that's probably blasphemy to say, but he won't. Like, he's admitted that it was a lot of hard work, and he let himself go quite quickly from BVS to Justice League. You can see it. It's there. It's in the cut. It's not hating on anyone. But he did. Like, he was wearing a mask. He was in great shape, Batman vs Superman, and then he did let himself go considerably. He won't stay in shape. This is not happening. I don't believe so anyway. Like, genuinely, I think cameos definitely, quick little bits here and there. Maybe it'll work up to something in future, but I can't see it happening. So I'd love to hear your thoughts though. What do you think, guys? Let me know down below in the comments. If you are new here, do hit subscribe. please do, ladies and gents, actually check you're subscribed. Loads of people are being unsubscribed. A lot of people are having their bell notifications turned off. So turn them on, set them to all. If you set it to personalized, it may get turned off and YouTube will curate content for you. Weird. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. I have been Mr. H. Take care.